You know what your real superpower is? Not muscles, not money, not how loud you can yell, it's control. Control over your own mind when the world tries to poke, push, and pull you into losing it. People will test you. Life will throw chaos at you. Words will cut, actions will sting, and situations will feel unfair. But here's the truth. You don't have to take the bait. You don't have to let their noise become your noise. The second you react on impulse, you hand over your peace, your power, your dignity. Like giving the keys to your house to someone who just tried to break in. You want to stay unbothered? Then you train your mind like it's a muscle. You teach it to pause when everything in you wants to explode. You choose silence when silence is stronger than words. You decide, this is not worth my energy, and mean it. Because the moment you stop letting the outside control the inside, you become unstoppable. That pause, that split second between what happened and what you do next, is where your entire power lives. Most people don't even realize it exists. Something happens, someone says something, and boom, they're already reacting. No filter, no thought, no control. And in that instant, they've handed over the steering wheel of their life to whoever just triggered them. But if you can master that pause, you're in control of the whole car, the whole road, and the whole trip. It's not about being slow, it's about being deliberate. That half a breath, that moment where you tell yourself, wait, is the difference between throwing gasoline on a fire and quietly walking away while it burns out on its own. Here's the thing. When you pause, you're not ignoring the situation. You're gathering data. You're letting the emotional storm inside you pass just enough so you can see clearly. In that moment, you're asking yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this worth my time? Is this worth my reputation? Most of the time, the answer is no. And when you pause long enough to realize that, you've already won. The other person might still be talking, still pushing, still trying to get a rise out of you, but you've taken away their favorite weapon, your reaction. The pause is your shield. It keeps you from saying things you can't take back, from making choices that will hurt you later, from showing people they have easy access to your buttons. Because once they know how to push them, they'll keep doing it. But if you don't react, if you pause, they're left with nothing to work with. They'll have to deal with their own energy while you protect yours, and that's powerful. Pausing also makes you dangerous in the best way. When you don't respond right away, people start to wonder what you're thinking. They expect instant retaliation, and when they don't get it, they lose their footing. Silence and stillness in the heat of the moment make you unpredictable, and unpredictable people are harder to manipulate. Your pause becomes your poker face. It hides your cards and makes everyone else nervous about what you're holding. It's not easy to get there. At first, your instinct will scream at you to say something, do something, make sure they know they can't talk to you like that. But that's just your ego trying to win a sprint when this is actually a marathon. You don't need to prove your strength in one explosive moment. You prove it in the discipline to hold back. The more you practice that pause, the more natural it becomes. Start small. Someone cuts you off in traffic, pause before you honk. A coworker says something passive-aggressive, pause before you clap back. A family member starts dragging you into an argument, pause before you bite. These small pauses stack up, and soon they're automatic. Here's what most people don't get. The pause isn't weakness, it's strategy. Weakness is letting the situation control you. Strength is controlling yourself in the situation. The pause gives you that strength because it forces you to choose your next move instead of letting your emotions choose for you. That's the kind of control that builds respect, both from others and from yourself. And yes, sometimes after the pause, you'll still choose to speak up, to set a boundary, to stand your ground. But now you're doing it from a place of clarity instead of chaos. You're not reacting. You're responding. That difference is massive. One is impulsive and usually messy. The other is intentional and clean. So if you want to train your mind to stay unbothered in any situation, start here. Start with that pause. Practice it until it's second nature. Protect that space between stimulus and response like your life depends on it. Because your peace of mind absolutely does. Every second you buy yourself in that gap is another second you stay in control. And once you own that space, nothing and no one can drag you out of it without your permission. That's when you stop being at the mercy of the world and start moving through it with unshakable calm. That's when you're untouchable. Detaching emotionally from triggers doesn't mean you stop. It means you stop letting those feelings own you. The world will keep throwing bait in your direction. Little hooks disguised as comments, gestures, or situations designed to get under your skin. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. But the result is the same. If you bite, you're caught. Emotional detachment is the art of looking at the hook and saying, not today. You see the trap, you feel the pull, but you decide to keep swimming. This is where self-awareness becomes your best friend. You start recognizing patterns in what sets you off. Maybe it's disrespect, maybe it's someone questioning your intelligence, maybe it's being ignored. We all have emotional tripwires, but when you know what yours are, you can see them coming before they snap. That's the first step in detaching, catching the trigger in the act before it catches you, because the trigger isn't the real problem. The problem is how quickly you let it pull you into a reaction that serves the trigger, not you. When you detach, you're creating a mental buffer zone. It's like seeing a wave coming toward you in the ocean. Instead of fighting it head on, you step aside and let it pass. You don't have to wrestle every wave that comes your way. You don't have to meet every attack with a counterattack. Sometimes the smartest move is no move. That's not avoidance. It's control. It's you saying, I choose where my energy goes, and this isn't worth it. The truth is, people can't control your emotions. They can only try to push buttons that you've left exposed. Emotional detachment is about taking those buttons out of public reach. The moment you stop giving people the power to decide how you feel, you stop being their puppet. And this isn't just about people, it's about situations too. Bad traffic doesn't ruin your day. A delayed flight doesn't steal your peace. A rude email doesn't control your mood. The trigger might be there, but you're not handing it the keys to your state of mind. One of the most powerful things you can do in a triggering moment is to mentally step outside of it. Imagine you're watching yourself in a movie scene. You see the other character throwing shade, making a jab, or trying to provoke you, and you ask yourself, if I was watching this in a theater, what would the smart version of me do right now? That little bit of mental distance changes everything. You stop reacting from the heat of the moment and start acting from a place of strategy. Detachment also forces you to stop personalizing everything. Not every comment is an attack. Not every bad mood from someone else is about you. People are carrying their own baggage, and sometimes their negativity is just them spilling it all over whoever's nearby. You don't have to wear what they're carrying. You can acknowledge it without absorbing it. You can hear the words without letting them sink in and infect your own headspace. At first, this will feel unnatural. If you've spent years reacting on instinct, detachment will feel like holding your breath underwater. You'll want to respond. You'll want to prove yourself. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Eventually, you won't even have to think about it. You'll just see the trigger, shrug internally, and move on with your day. That's when you know you've taken the bait off the hook for good. The beautiful thing about emotional detachment is that it frees you up to focus on what actually matters. You stop wasting hours replaying conversations in your head. You stop carrying the weight of other people's opinions like it's your job. You start living lighter, faster, cleaner, and the best part, the same things that used to trigger you start losing their power altogether. They become background noise you barely notice. You don't owe every trigger a reaction. You don't owe every provocation your attention. The power isn't in avoiding triggers completely. You can't, but in being so centered, so steady that when they show up, they bounce right off. You keep your energy for the things that deserve it. You stop being pulled in 100 directions by other people's drama. And once you've built that kind of detachment, nothing can rattle you for long. You become untouchable, not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. The conversation that matters most is the one happening in your own head. Every time something happens, before you ever open your mouth, you're already talking to yourself about it. That inner dialogue decides whether you blow up, shut down, or handle it with clarity. If you want to stay unbothered in any situation, you have to take control of that voice. You can't let it run wild, because if you do, it will feed you stories that turn small issues into full-blown wars. It's amazing how fast your mind can twist something simple into something personal. Someone doesn't text back, they're ignoring me. Someone gives you a short answer, they're disrespecting me. Someone walks by without saying hello, they're mad at me. That's the dangerous part. Your mind will assign meaning to things before you have the fact. And once you've bought into that meaning, your emotions follow. The story becomes real to you even if it's completely false. That's why controlling your inner dialogue is everything. When something triggers you, you have two options. Let your inner voice hype it up, or teach it to slow down. That's where the training comes in. You replace phrases like "this is insulting" with "this might not even be about me." You swap "they're attacking me" with "maybe they're just having a bad day." You shift from "I have to respond right now" to "let me think this through first." This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about giving yourself the full picture before you act. The inner dialogue you feed will either fuel your reaction or fuel your control. If you keep telling yourself you're under attack, you'll fight. If you keep telling yourself you have to prove something, you'll argue. But if you tell yourself, "my peace is worth more than this,"
you'll walk away. If you tell yourself, not everything needs my energy, you'll let it go. And here's the truth. Your mind believes what you repeat to it. The more you practice a calm, rational internal voice, the more it becomes your default. One of the most powerful things you can do is challenge your own thought. The moment you feel that spike of emotion, stop and ask, what else could this mean? 9 times out of 10, there's another explanation that doesn't require you to get upset. Maybe they weren't being rude, maybe they were distracted, maybe they weren't ignoring you, maybe they didn't see you. Your brain might resist at first, because the dramatic version feels more satisfying in the moment. But satisfying isn't the same as smart. And let's be real, most people spend too much time talking to themselves in a way they'd never let someone else talk to them. You beat yourself up, you replay mistakes, you predict worst-case scenarios. That voice is like an untrained dog, running around making a mess. If you want control, you have to train it. You have to set boundaries on what you allow yourself to think. That doesn't mean forcing toxic positivity. It means refusing to entertain thoughts that pull you into unnecessary drama. Here's the thing. You can't always stop the first. Sometimes the negative one will pop up automatically, but you can always control the second one. That second thought is where you step in, grab the wheel and decide where this is going. Instead of letting it spiral, you redirect it. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you keep a bad moment from turning into a bad day. If you've ever walked away from a situation thinking, I wish I'd handled that better, it probably started with your inner dialogue. You let it push you into acting without thinking. But when you master that inner voice, you start leaving situations proud of how you handled them. You stop giving people the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. You start moving with intention instead of impulse. The most unbothered people in the world aren't the ones who never face problems. They're the ones who have trained their inner voice to work for them, not against them. They know that what they say to themselves in the heat of the moment will decide everything. And when you get to that level of control, the outside world can scream all at once. Your peace stays untouched, because the loudest, most important voice you hear is the one you've trained to keep you steady. Your energy is not unlimited. Every day you wake up with a certain amount, and every interaction, every thought, every choice either spins it or protects it. That's why you have to start treating your energy like currency, because once it's gone, and you don't get it back until tomorrow. The problem is most people hand out their energy like free samples to anyone who asks for it. They give it away to pointless arguments, to gossip, to petty insults, to strangers on the internet, and then they wonder why they feel drained, frustrated and stuck. Protecting your energy starts with realizing, not everything deserves it. Just because something demands your attention doesn't mean it's worthy of it. Think about it, if you only had $100 for the day, would you spend it all on junk food in the morning and then have nothing left for dinner? That's what happens when you blow your mental and emotional energy on things that don't matter. By noon, you're running on fumes, and the stuff that actually does matter, your goals, your relationships, your peace, gets whatever scraps are left. When you make protecting your energy a priority, you start saying no more often. No to conversations that go nowhere. No to people who only call when they want something. No to situations that always leave you feeling worse than when you walked in. This isn't about being cold, it's about being selective. Your peace is worth more than someone else's approval. And the people who truly respect you will understand that. The truth is, there are energy thieves everywhere. Some do it on purpose, feeding off your reactions because it makes them feel powerful. Others don't even realize they're doing it. They're just so caught up in their own chaos that they dump it on anyone who will listen. Either way, you're the one paying the price if you let them. Protecting your energy means spotting those thieves early and deciding they're not getting access to your mind. That might mean limiting time with certain people. It might mean not responding to that text right away, or at all. It might mean walking away from an argument even when you feel like you have the perfect comeback. And here's the part most people don't like. You also have to protect your energy from yourself. Sometimes you're the one draining your own reserves by overthinking, replaying old conversations, worrying about what might happen, or trying to fix things you can't control. That mental clutter is exhausting, and you can't afford to keep paying for it. Protecting your energy means catching yourself in that cycle and saying, enough, this isn't helping me. When you start guarding your energy like this, you'll notice something: your tolerance for nonsense drops. Things that used to get a reaction out of you barely register anymore. Not because you don't care, but because you've built a filter that asks one simple question before you spend your energy: is this worth it? And most of the time, the answer is no. That's not being passive. That's being strategic. People might not understand it at first. They might think you've changed, that you're distant, that you've become harder to reach, and they're right, you have changed. You've stopped being available for everything that costs you too much and pays you back too little. You've stopped making withdrawals from your own peace account just to fund someone else's drama. That's growth, that's discipline. Protecting your energy also makes you more effective. When you're not wasting it on the small stuff, you have more for the big stuff, the conversations that matter, the challenges worth taking on, the goals that will actually change your life. You show up sharper, calmer, and more in control because you're not running on empty. At the end of the day, your energy is your responsibility. Nobody else is going to protect it for you. If you keep letting the world decide how you spend it, you'll always be tired, always on edge, always reacting instead of leading. But when you start guarding it like it's the most valuable thing you own, which it is, you take back control. And when you control where your energy goes, you control your life. That's when you stop just surviving the day and start owning it. Mental resilience isn't built in the big moments, it's built in the small ones you face every single day. Everyone wants to be calm, composed, and unshakable when life throws a storm their way. But the truth is, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. And if you haven't trained your mind to handle pressure in the small things, you'll break under the weight of the big ones. That's why this is daily work. You don't wait until you're in the middle of a heated argument, a betrayal, or a crisis to figure out how to stay calm. You practice in the low-stakes moments, so you're ready for the high-stakes ones. It starts with how you respond to the little irritations, the long line at the grocery store, the driver who cuts you off, the coworker who keeps tapping their pen during a meeting. These moments are your mental gym. You can either let them chip away at your patience, or you can use them as reps to get stronger. Every time you choose to breathe, instead of snap, every time you choose to let it go instead of letting it build, you're putting in the work. It's like adding another brick to a wall that will protect you when the real storms hit. The mistake people make is thinking resilience is about never feeling anything. It's not. It's about feeling it, processing it, and still choosing how you act. You can feel frustrated and still be kind. You can feel disrespected and still choose dignity. You can feel wronged and still move forward without losing yourself. That's what makes mental resilience so powerful. It doesn't mean you're unshakable because nothing touches you. It means you're unshakable because nothing controls you. And here's the thing, mental resilience is built through consistency, not convenience. You can't just practice it when it's easy. You have to do it when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you don't feel like. You have to catch yourself in the moments where your instinct is to react, and instead train yourself to pause, think, and respond with intention. That's how you build it into your system, until it becomes automatic. Another part of building resilience is understanding that setbacks are part of the process. You're gonna slip up, you're gonna lose your cool sometimes, you're gonna react when you wish you hadn't. But resilience means you don't stay there, you bounce, you analyze what happened, learn from it, and get right back to practicing. Every time you recover from a misstep, you're proving to yourself that you can come back stronger. Mental resilience also grows when you push yourself outside your comfort zone. When you willingly take on challenges instead of avoiding them, you train your mind to adapt, to handle pressure, and to stay steady when things don't go as planned. You stop fearing discomfort because you've been there before and know you can handle it. That confidence carries over into every situation, making you harder to rattle and easier to trust, both by others and by yourself. And don't underestimate the role of self-care in all of this. Resilience isn't just mental toughness, it's also mental recovery. You can't expect your mind to stay sharp if you're running it into the ground. Rest, good food, exercise, and quiet time aren't luxuries. They're the maintenance that keeps your mental engine running smoothly. The stronger and healthier you are physically and emotionally, the more bandwidth you have to handle whatever comes your way without cracking. The more you train mental resilience, the more you'll notice a shift in how you move through life. Things that used to throw you off track barely register. Situations that once drained you now bounce off you. People who once had the power to ruin your day don't anymore. And the best part, you stop feeling like you're constantly at the mercy of the world. You start feeling like you're steering your own ship, no matter how rough the water gets. That's the beauty of mental resilience. It's not a shield that blocks out every challenge. It's the strength to face challenges without losing who you are. And when you've built it brick by brick, day by day, through the small battles, the big ones won't scare you. You'll walk into them knowing you've already trained for this. You'll face them steady, calm, and unbothered, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. At the end of the day, staying unbothered in any situation isn't about pretending the world can't touch you. It's about knowing that it can, and still choosing not to give it control. It's mastering the pause, so you own your next move.